Hello, this is Miss Cliffner with your video lesson on 2.2 dividing fractions. How can you divide fractions? Well, let's look at first what dividing is with whole numbers. So here's the two examples. Dividing could be thought of as repeated subtraction or equal sharing. So if I look at repeated subtraction, I've got something like this where I know that I'm putting in, making groups of 3, right? But I don't know how many groups I'm going to have. So I'm going to have, oops, I put those as 4. So I'm basically doing this where I'm putting, there's one group of 3, there's another group of 3, and now I have 2 left over, right? So if the size of the groups is 3, but the number of groups is unknown, I've got 2 groups. Ooh, plus I have 2/3 of a group because I really am trying to group it by 3. So let's look at equal sharing. Equal sharing is when you take those pieces, right, and you drag them into 3 different boxes. I meant to take this box away. I'm just going to cross that one off. I'm dividing by 3. So I put another one of those pieces into the 3 different boxes, and now I have 2 left over. And I would take these 2 and I would cut them into thirds, and each of the people would get 2, each of the groups would have 2 and 2/3, right? So I have a fraction if I don't have a number that's divisible by 3. So we can do repeated subtraction, we can do equal sharing. We can do the same thing with fractions. So let's write out in words what these problems represent. So I'm taking 3 whole of something, there's my picture, there's the model, and I'm dividing it by a third. So remember, we started this already. I'm asking how many 1/3 are in 3 wholes. Well, there's my picture of what it looks like, and I'm going to take the model, and because I'm trying to count the thirds, I'm first going to break each of the 3 whole candy bars, whatever they are, into thirds, and then I count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. You see that there are 9 thirds, 9 groups of 1/3 in 3 wholes. Now we'll look at another one that is now 3, but now we're dividing by 2/3. So the question is, how many 2/3 are in 3 wholes? Well, my picture looks the same. I'm dividing them into thirds, but now I have to count 2 at a time. So I like to use my highlighter and I color 2 of the rectangles, and then I color 2 more, right? I'm counting 2/3 at a time. 1, 2, and this is going to be a little weird. 1, 2, I'm going to have 1 left over. And when I do my counting, I count 1 group, 2 groups, 3 groups, 4 groups. Now, I'm counting 2 at a time, and I only was able to highlight 1/3 because that's all I had left. But what is 1 out of 2 of the pieces that you need? As a fraction, it's half. I want to color in 2 rectangles, but I only have 1, so I have 1/2 of the 2/3 that I'm looking for, right? So the answer is there are 4.5 groups of 2/3 in 3 wholes. All right, so same idea. This time I now have 4 wholes that I'm dividing by 2/3. So how many 2/3 are in 4 wholes? Here's my model. Now I have 4 pieces, but I'm still breaking it up into the pieces that the denominator says, because if I'm going to divide into thirds, I need to make the whole rectangles have to be broken up into thirds, and then I start highlighting 2 at a time. 1, 2, there's my second group. 1, 2, that's a third group. And then I've got a 4th group. Oh, this one's going to divide in evenly, right? Because I'm highlighting 2 pieces at a time. So now I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There are 6 groups of 2/3 in 4 wholes. Okay, so now there's a couple of OYOs. I'm just going to show you. You should pause the video, and then I'm just going to show you the answers, but not the models, so that I can show you one different type of model. Okay, so how many groups of 3/4 are in 3 wholes? The answer is 4 groups. And then the number 5 is how many groups of 2/5 are in 2 wholes? There are 5 groups. Okay, so now I want to move on to a different type of model, where now we're starting off with something that's less than a whole. So I only have 3/4 of something, right? So if I'm trying to figure out how many 1/4 fit in 3/4, right, you can already see that there's 1, 2, 3 of those pieces fit inside. And the question is asked the same way. How many groups of 1/4 are in 3/4? And you can see that there's 3. But I am going to show you with a different type of model. I wanted you to see that this is the actual fraction piece that's would be if there was a whole, there would be a 4th one there. But we're starting with 3/4 of something, and I'm dividing by 1/4. And you can see that there's 1, 2, 3 that would fit inside. There's my 3 groups of 1/4. But now, I don't like to draw circles every time or rectangles. So if I have this nice little grid, here's what I can do. I can look at the first fraction that I start off with is 3/4. And I'm going to not highlight, but I'm going to draw 4 squares. I'm going to highlight 3 of them, right? Because I'm starting off with 3/4 of something. And then I'm going to see how many 1/4 fit inside. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to draw what I'm going to draw what 1/4 looks like. And I go, well, wait a minute, I kind of get this. One of these, right, fits in there. Another one fits there. And another one fits there. So 3/4 divided by 1/4 equals 3. There are 3 1/4 inside. So here was my question. How many groups of 1/4 are in 3/4? And my answer is there are 3 groups of 1/4. Okay, so here's another picture of what it looks like. I always want you to think about the first number that we start with is the dividend, right? That's the beginning number. And the divisor is the number of groups that fit inside. So it's always the dividend divided by the divisor. Dividend and divisor. So here we go. So this is my dividend, right? This is dividend. And this is divisor. This is the number on the outside if you're doing long division. So now I have another fraction, 4/5 divided by 2/5. The question is, how many groups of 2/5 are in 4/5? Kind of makes sense to look at it like this. I need 2 pieces. And guess what? I have 2 pieces here and I have 2 pieces here. There's 2 groups. There are 2 groups. But I want you to draw a picture like this because this is kind of what I did on the homework. Okay, so here we go. How many groups of 2/5 are in 4/5? I'm going to start out with my dividend. Here is my 5 squares, and I'm highlighting 4 of them. Let me make the color a little bit darker. Okay, so there's what 4/5 look like. And then I'm going to draw 2/5 in a different color. This is what 2/5 looks like. Oops, I meant to do a highlighter. Let's highlight that. Oops, oh boy. Let's do yellow. Okay, so there's what 2/5 looks like. So I'm going to take this is 4/5 divided by 2/5. There's my dividend, there's my divisor. I need 2 squares at a time. There's my 2 squares, that's 1 group. There's my other 2 squares, that's 2 groups. The solution is there are 2 groups of 2/5 inside of 4/5. Okay, so homework changes some years. This year, this is what your homework looks like. It starts off with models. And look, I even gave you kind of the sentence frame so that you just have to fill in the numbers and don't have too many words to write. And then I also give you some of the grid models. Okay, good luck.